Sure. Talk to him, man. Talk to him. Tell him I'm gonna grind him up when I see him too. Yeah. Here you go. You started? Yeah. I ain't even. Talk to him. Okay. I'll talk to you. Sorry. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Just a continuation of what we were speaking about earlier, some of the advice or wisdoms from Abu Dardaa radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So the second piece of advice from Abu Dardaa, he says, من أقوالي, from his statements, أستعيذ بالله من خشوع النفاق. قالوا يا أبا درداء وما خشوع النفاق؟ قال أن يرى الجسد خاشعا والقلب ليس بخاشع. Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, seek refuge in Allah from sincere hypocrisy. Sincere hypocrisy. He used the word khushu'. You ever hear that word khushu' used in your salat? Have khushu' in your salat? What does that mean to you, khushu'?
It's like a, what's the word I'm looking for?
Tranquility. Concentration. Huh? I like concentration. So he said, Asta'idhu billahi min khushu' al-nifaq. Seek refuge in Allah from concentrated hypocrisy. We can use that. Focused hypocrisy. So the Sahaba, or those in attendance, qalu ya Abu Darda. So, oh Abu Darda, what is concentrated hypocrisy? Focused hypocrisy. What is that? He said, أن يرى الجسد خاشعا والقلب ليس بخاشع. He said, when you see a person and you see their physical body, it looks like they're focused, meaning they're focused in their worship or what have you, but their hearts are not there. The hearts are not focused. And so he says, وَقَدْ ثَبَتَ عَنِ النَّبِيِّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, and this is very important, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, أَوَّلُ مَا يُسْلَبُ مِنْ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ الْخُشُوعِ. He said the first thing, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he said the first thing that will be removed from this ummah is that sincerity, that khushu'. It's going to be from the first things that will be removed from this ummah. فَتَرَى النَّاسُ يُصَلُّونَ فِي الْمَسَاجِدِ لَا تَكَادُ تَجِدَ فِيهِمْ رَجُلًا خَاشِعًا. And then he said, we'll see people praying in the masajid. You're going to see men praying in the masajid, right? But you won't find hardly any of them, their hearts are present. Most of them, their hearts will not be present. And so therefore he said, Asta'idhu billahi min khushu' al-nifaq. And so for this reason, he told the people to seek refuge in Allah from having that type of hypocrisy. That lack of, He says, إن يرى الجسد خاشعا مطرقا في الصلاة ولكن القلب ليس بخاشع. He said, you'll see a person standing in the salah. When you look at them, they look like they have tranquility, sincerity on their limbs from what you see. He said, but their hearts are not present. He said, هذه حال أهل النفاق. This is the condition of the people of hypocrisy. لأنهم في الصلاة يصلون مع مسلمين. This is because in the salat, they pray with the Muslims. ولكن قلوبهم ليست خاشعة لله. He said, but their hearts are not focused and connected to Allah. Rather, they do this showing off to the people. وَلَا يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. And we find that He said that you find these people, their hearts will not be present, but they only pray like this to show off to the people. And he said, and they only remember Allah a little bit. A little bit. وَلِمَاذَا قَالَ أَبُو دَرْدَاء اسْتَعِيذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ خُشُوعِ النِّفَاقِ. Why did he do that? Why did he do that? Why did he say, seek refuge in Allah from this type of hypocrisy? Why do you think he said that? Huh? It could be a form of shirk? Okay. Why else do you think he said it?
Because he had understanding, because of his insight on this could be a cause of lack of knowledge of knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay, a lack of knowledge. Okay, why else would he say that? Why do you think he said that? So, some of the ulama, they mentioned that he wanted to establish in the hearts of the people that we don't just be musallam, we don't just submit to the way that we are. Meaning, you don't just submit to the fact that a person may be praying just to pray, but their heart's not present in the salah. So instead of just submitting to that, he wanted the people to seek refuge in Allah from this type of hypocrisy. He says, because كثير من الناس من يكون في قلوبهم عدم الخشوع ويكون خشوعهم خشوع بدن وهو يعلم أن قلبه ينازعه إلى أنواع من الكبائر والمنكرات وينازعه إلى أنواع من الترك الواجبات. He said, this is because we find that their hearts are not present in the salat, but their bodies are present in khushu'. They might stand in salat for a long time, sujood for a long time, but their hearts are not there. He said, we know in these cases that the heart can be removed for various reasons. They could be thinking about sin or all types of disobedience. Or the heart may lead them to leaving off other things that are wajib and obligatory upon the Muslims. ثم يقول له أبو درداء. So Abu Dardaa, he said to them, أستعيذ من خشوع النفاق. He said, or they mentioned, if you are on this, if this is your condition, فلا ترضى بنفسك في هذه الحال بل استعذ. And he said, one of the reasons why he said this, because of a person, if this is your condition, and you're not happy with that condition, seek refuge in Allah. Seek refuge in Allah from that state that you're in. Ista'idh billah. Ista'idh billah. Ittijahu ilay wa'tasim bihi. That seek refuge in Allah, go towards Allah, and connect yourself to Allah. And the purpose of this is so that you may remove that negligence from your heart and return back to what is correct in terms of being focused on your worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. كان صحابة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يتعبدون العبادة وربما كان من بعضهم أكثر منهم تعبد ولكن كانوا يتعبدون بقلوب خاشعة. That the companions, they were worshippers of Allah. The companions of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, they were worshippers of Allah by physical bodies and likewise with their hearts. So the question, what do you think are some of the reasons? Now mind you, this was over 1,000 years ago. If that was, think about this, Abu Dardaa radiallahu ta'ala, he died during the Khilafah of Uthman ibn Affan. He died during his Khilafah, right? Right now, the Islamic year is what? 1,400 and what? 40. Let's say this took place, he made this statement, let's give it 1,400 years ago. 1,400 years ago. Let's just say 1,300 years ago. He said this 1,300 years ago, that people would pray, and their physical bodies will be present, but their hearts what? Absent. A few of us were talking before we started talking about this. Everybody says that, you know, if you talk to a person and a person says to you, you know, An-Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, "Akhwafu ma akhafu alaykum." What? Ashirk or what? Ashirk al-khafi, hidden shirk, right? What's hidden shirk? And like what? Like riyah, like showing off, right? So, if we ask every Muslim, if there was 1,000 Muslims in here, and we were to ask every single Muslim, hey, do you show off in your salat? Do you do this? Do you do this? What do you think the answer would be? No. Everyone's going to say no. Do you think there's going to be a Muslim that say, yeah, you know, when I pray, I try to, like, you know what I mean, look decent in my salat? No. You think a Muslim's going to say that? No. 100% of the Muslims that you probably ask, every last one will say what? That's not me. Yet, it had to be common and it had to be an issue because the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, this is the thing I fear the most over my nation, is showing off. Abu Dardaa radiallahu ta'ala an, he was considered to be from the companions that were from the wise. And he said, "Asta'idhu billahi min khushu' al-nifaq." Seek refuge in Allah from this type of hypocrisy. If it wasn't prevalent, why would he say it? Does that make sense? In order for you to make a statement about something, there has to be something that is known that people do. Correct? Right. If this happened 1,300 years ago, and Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, "Khayrul qarn qarni, thumma alladhina yalunahum, thumma alladhina yalunahum." And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, the best of the nations are which one? My nation, my generation. And then what? The one that come after them, and then what? And then the one that come after them. Right now, we're the last generation. Meaning, the latest one. We're the latest generation, us, right now. We're all living, right? In our situation right now, if this was during the time of Abu Dardaa, that people had this, then what about us today, in 2019? We'll be fooling ourselves to think that this didn't apply to us as well. These are the type of questions. And so a brother and I had a discussion earlier about trying to do good deeds. Muslims trying to do good deeds. It's important for a Muslim to try to do as many good deeds as possible in his or her life. Why is that? Prepare for the hereafter. But how is that as it relates to those narrations that we just mentioned? Ahsant. Because you don't know which one you were sincere with or which one you weren't. Think about that, brothers and sisters in Islam. You might do something deep down hidden inside. You might have did it for another reason other than the sake of Allah. Right.
That's the hardest thing to humble with ikhlas because you do it out of your love for you.
Right.
But you
Right.
not often think about when we put seasoning on home fries. Allah accept this from you. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So the thing is, as Muslims, it's important that we do as many good deeds as possible because we don't know if any of the deeds that we did had true sincerity in it, if it was khalis lillah, if what we did was totally for Allah, there was no share of anything from me in it. This is why most brothers and sisters, when they make Hajj, I haven't met a Muslim that made Hajj except that when they got back, they got afraid, thought their Hajj wasn't accepted, so they want to go back again. Huh? You go make Hajj and you feel like, man, I was arguing with this person out there. Maybe Allah didn't accept that. I want to go make Hajj again. You saved up for 10 years. You might have saved up 10, 20 years to make Hajj. And after you finish making Hajj, you say to yourself, I did something wrong, or maybe I wasn't sincere. or maybe I did this, or maybe, so you doubt yourself. So as Muslims, it's important to try to do as many good deeds as possible, because we're not sure, you're not sure. No one's going to say, yeah, my heart wasn't all the way in it for Allah, was half this and half that. No one's going to say that. No one's going to, I don't think anyone's honest enough to say that. It takes a person to look in the mirror at themselves and say, you know what, I really didn't do that for Allah. I did that so I could be down with these brothers. I really didn't do that for that. I did it for this. I did it for that. Right? It takes a certain level of honesty with ourselves. Not that you got to tell someone else, but it takes a certain level of honesty with yourself. At any event, we have a statement. وَلِهَذَا قِيلَ لِلْحَسَنِ الْبَصْرِ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى أَنْ هَؤُلَاءِ التَّابِعُونَ أَكْثَرُ عِبَادَةً من الصحابة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فكيف كان الصحابة أرفع منهم منزلة. He said, how is the Sahaba better than everyone else in terms of their ibadah? قال الحسن كان الصحابة يتعبدون والآخرة في قلوبهم وأما هؤلاء فيتعبدون والدنيا في قلوبهم. So first, Hasan al-Basri, he said that the Tabi'un, listen to this statement. He said the Tabi'un, they were known to do more acts of worship than the Sahaba. This is what he said. فَكَيْفَ كَانَ صَحَابَ أَرْفَعُ مِنْهُمْ مَنْزِلَةً. Then he said, then if the Tabi'un, meaning the students of the companions, if they were known to do more acts of worship, how then are the companions on a higher level than the Tabi'in? Is the question clear? The question is clear? Hasan al-Basri said, the Tabi'un, they were known to do more ibadah, bil-jumla, in general, than the Sahaba. Yet how is the Sahaba on a higher level than the Tabi'un? And so what he said, كَانَ الصَّحَابِ يَتَعَبَّدُونَ وَالْآخِرَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. He said, because the Sahaba, when they used to worship Allah, their hearts were connected to the Akhirah. And he said the Tabi'un, when they used to worship Allah, يَتَعَبِّدُونَ وَالدُّنْيَا فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. They used to worship Allah, but the dunya used to be in their hearts. This is the Tabi'un. This is the Tabi'un. The Sahaba, they were known to do less acts of worship, but their worship was focused on what? On the hereafter. Whereas the Tabi'un, they were known to do more acts of worship, but their heart was attached to what? The dunya. This is according to Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah ta'ala. If this was the Tabi'un, what about us? You're not going to find a Muslim to say, when I pray, my heart is attached to the dunya. Say, no, when I pray, my heart is attached to the akhirah. Everyone's going to say that. At least you want to believe that. But when we hear statements like this, it should make a person reflect and look in the mirror and say, be honest, if this is a Tabi, he's saying this, what about us? What about me? He said, how is it that the Sahaba did less acts of worship but are on a higher level than the Tabi'un who did more acts of worship? He said, because the Sahaba, when they did their acts of worship, their heart was focused in the next life, in the Akhirah. Whereas the Tabi'un, their hearts were focused in the dunya. Yes?
I understand. But for the sake of the class, could you give us an example?
Oh, focus on the dunya?
Yes.
You might be praying, thinking about your children. You might be thinking about what's going on with your kids in the middle of your salat. It might not necessarily be something bad. You might be praying, man, I ain't talking to my kids all day. What they doing today? Or you might be thinking about that. You might be praying and thinking about, man, I gotta go into work tomorrow. This manager bull get on my nerves. Or you might be thinking about the problems you have with your wife. Or you might be thinking about when your next paycheck gonna come. Or you might be thinking about, listen, there's a lot of things to think about in the salah. It's a lot of things to think about. It's a lot of things. You can think about a lot of things in the salah. But the companions, when they prayed, their hearts was focused on what? The next life. That sounds like that was a conscious decision to think about the next life, having their hearts attached to the next life while they were praying. The last part, the last piece of advice from Abi Dardaa that we're going to mention here today, inshallah, from the statements of Abu Darda, it says, قَدْ مَرَّ رَجُلٌ عَمَلَ ذَنْبًا. They passed by a man that was committing sins. وَعَلِمَ بِذَنْبِهِ أُنَاسٍ. So they passed by a man who was sinful. Everyone knew he was sinful. All the people knew that this person committed sins. وَعَمِلَ بِذَنْبِهِ أُنَاسٍ فَمَرَّ عَلَيْهِمْ أَبُو دَرْدَاء. And the people knew that this person was a sinner. So Abu Darda, he walked past them. وَهُمْ يُسَبُّونَهُ. And they were cursing this person. He's this fasik, this person is this, he's that, to the end of it. فَقَالَ لَهُمْ Abu Darda. So Abu Darda, he said to them, وَهُوَ الْبَصِيرُ بِعِلَاجَ الْبُعْدِ عَنِ الدِّينِ. They said, Abu Darda, he said to them, with the understanding of what would be the cure for the people that are far away from the religion. And he said, also with the ilaj, ahlul isyan. He also had the cure for the people that committed sins. Wahlul qulub al-maridah. And he had a cure for the people that had sick hearts. So Abu Darda, he said to those people who were cursing them, he said, أَرَأَيْتُمْ لَوْ وَجَدْتُمُوهُ فِي قَاعِ الْقَلِيبِ أَلَمْ تَكُونُوا مَخْرَجِيهِ مِنْهَا. He said, if you saw a person, a qalib here is like a well. If you saw a person on the edge of a well, maybe about to fall in, would you not try to pull him back from it? He's making an analogy here. This al-qalib here is talking about sins, but he's saying if you saw a person at a well and they're sitting on it and they're about to fall in the well, would you just sit back and watch them and curse, oh, this person's about to fall? Or would you reach out to try to save them? Huh? You're going to reach out and try to, if you can. You're within reach, you're going to what? You're going to reach out and try to save them. So he said, قَالُوا بَلَا. So he said, wouldn't you try to save them from it? And they all said, absolutely. So then he said, فَحْمَدِ اللَّهِ الَّذِي عَفَاكُمْ وَلَا تَسُبُّوا أَخَاكُمْ. He said, if you will try to save that person, then he says, فَحْمَدِ اللَّهِ. Then praise Allah. الَّذِي عَفَاكُمْ. Praise Allah, the one that saved you, and do not curse your brothers. And do not curse your brothers. How many times do we see in the era of social media that people are so quick to call people innovators and deviants and laughing at them, and they look at them, they this and they that, as if you were given a pass. As if you were given a pass. Before this lecture, a few of us were talking before the lecture, and we were saying how accepting Islam in the city of Philadelphia, for many people that have been Muslim for about 20 years or more, that might be in their 40s or late 30s, etc. There were phases that you went through. There was a phase in the beginning where you thought that, we're talking about back in the late 90s, early 2000s, you thought that you were the Muslim, and the people that were with you were the Muslims on the truth, and everyone else were astray. And when you see people, when you hear about people, they have situations, they got to go to court for custody with their kids, etc. And you will say to yourself, that'll never be me. Or you say to yourself, that's them. Or you say to yourself, they messed up. We're doing it the right way, and they're messed up. And we mentioned that out of all the things in life that you go through, some of us were at a level of arrogance that you couldn't see yourself doing anything that wasn't perfect as it related to Islam. So, meaning, talking 20 years ago. So everything that's going on today already happened. Yet, 20 years ago, these same brothers, their families split up. Some of their ex-wives stopped practicing. Some of their kids went to the streets. Some of this happened. Some of that happened. Because perhaps maybe you or we were from the people that used to look at the people that were making mistakes and we used to curse them. Maybe we were from those people that would say, look at them, they shout out. These Muslims is all this, they're not doing this. Speaking ill of them. And then Allah will test you with the same thing. I remember some years ago, there was a sister in Maryland. There was a tsunami that happened in Indonesia. I think it was in 2004, 2005. And the first thing, out of ignorance, right? The first thing she said, she posted online. I remember this. She posted online and she said, may Allah save all the Salafis there. May Allah save all the Salafis there. Same type of stuff that goes on now. Person like, what do you mean all the Salafis? All the Muslims. I mean, Allah save the, no, all the Salafis. She was very hard on Muslims, very hard, very difficult. Call people innovators. Say people were deviants, etc. And then, this was in maybe 2004 when the tsunami hit Indonesia, huh? 2004? It was 04, right? Like, in 2008, I was in Mecca, and we got news that this sister left Islam. She started practicing some African religion. And it may be hard to believe, but being like that, putting yourself in a position that you believe that you are where Islam is supposed to be, Allah will humiliate you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will humiliate you. Nobody is safe. Nobody is better than another Muslim. It just may be that Allah showed you something that He didn't show them. So you be easy with your brothers and your sisters. As Abu Dardaa, he says, فَفَحْمَدِ اللَّهَ الَّذِي عَفَاكُمْ وَلَا تَسُبُّوا أَخَاكُمْ. Thank Allah, be gracious to Allah that Allah saved you, and do not curse your brothers. And do not curse your brothers. Do not be an aid to the shaitan against your brothers. How easy is it for us to look at another Muslim that's not doing the right thing and talk about him behind their back? She shout out, look at him. You posting this on social media, he's a clown. You see him, that's all they going, hey, this guy's a clown. That's what we do. You laughing, that's what we do. And then it could be because of that behavior that we display towards our brothers and sisters in Islam that Allah puts you through a similar trial or worse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could put you through a similar trial or worse. Instead of trying to be an aid to your brother or your sister, we was an aid to the shaitan against our brother and our sister. Nasallallahu salam wa afiyah. At any event, we're gonna stop with that, inshallah. Any questions? Comments? Yes.
That's a little off topic.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows the reputation Everybody knows the reputation of Philadelphia for its Islam and the level, the amount of Muslims that's here.
What is the reputation of Philadelphia for Islam?
That it's a lot of Muslims. Like
Philadelphia has a lot of Muslims.
From an outside of Philly perspective.
Okay.
Everyone knows a lot of Muslims there. So that was an incident where a female on the streets of Philly, she came and she said, "Salaam alaikum" to a group of brothers, and most of the brothers didn't respond, and one brother, he said "Wa alaikum." The sister, she wasn't covered, she was just like a regular, how they dress here in Philly, a regular woman. So the brother, he went back to the brothers who didn't respond, and he mentioned the hadith in Sahihain, which says, if it said to you, "Assalamu alaikum" from the people of the book, you respond, "Wa alaikum." But does that apply in this type of situation where you really don't know, and is this person considered a person of the book? How do you know she's a person of the book?
Shuf. In general, when a person gives the salams, you can return them. In general. The origin is that if a person is going to give you the salams, you don't stop and say, hold up, before I return these salams, I'm going to interrogate you. When did you accept the salam? You're not going to do all that. It's not that serious. It's like I said, sometimes the shaitan makes some of us believe that we're more Muslim and we're closer to Allah than we really are. Believe you me, brothers and sisters in Islam, that's also from the plots of the shaitan. Make you believe that you're closer to Allah than you are.
Even in that sense, even if they give you the salam and you return them, you still get the barakah from them. Right? You still get the barakah from that.
And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, رَدَّ السَّلَامِ عَلَى مَنْ عَرَفْ وَمَنْ لَمْ تَعْرَفْ. This hadith is sahih. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, return the salams to the ones that you know and the ones that you don't know. But perhaps, an excuse for those brothers, they could have came across some of the narrations of some of the scholars that if a young woman gives you the salams, that some of them don't return the salams. That maybe they could have came across that. But we're just speaking in general. In this society, in our community where we live, in general, we are fragile people. Fragile. With a capital F. And what that means is, if this sister gives you the salams and you don't return the salams, that possibly could be a reason to push her further away from Islam. Because we're so fragile. We're talking about women in our societies that grew up with no fathers. We're talking about men in our society that grew up with no fathers. We're talking about people who grew up in our societies who don't have family structures. And Islam is the only family that they knew. And when you give salams and you don't return them, you don't know the effects that have on people. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than not returning the salams. You got to understand where we come from. It's deeper than that.
Now, I don't want to touch on what you were saying about that. Like, I drive, and I pick up a lot of sisters, and some sisters don't be covered. And some will be shy, and because they're not covered, and then some will. And some of that, when you do get salam, it enhances, and encourages them sometimes. And I had a sister that gave me salam. She said, well, my brother don't let me give salam. Why you give me salam? I said, because that's, from our way to give the salam. So that's something that's uplifting for not just the sisters, but for the brothers too.
So here's another thing. You also got to understand, giving a salam to women also is a fitna. Yeah. It could be a door to open up for fitna. But you also got to understand, everything is not black and white. And that's another thing you got to understand. Our deen is not black and white. We, like I said, we live in a society where people are fragile. So imagine, and this is why a lot of people get stuck on a lot of these issues that go on and talking about people, because people are fragile in that. What does that mean? Let's say, for example, a group of people, they're talking about another group. You have no skin in the game. You have nothing, you're not benefiting one way or the other. But now they put you Now they ask you, they give you the test. What's your position on this and that? You're just going to go along and get along because you don't want no problems. You just left the streets. These issues are over your head. You don't understand them. You don't want no problems. Okay, they deviants. Cool. I don't know these people. The problem comes when they meet these people. Like, man, they don't really look like deviants. Now it causes a problem now, right? But like I said, at the end of the day, we're fragile. We're fragile. And when you deal with our people in our society, you have to be sensitive to that. You have to understand that we are fragile as a community. Allah knows everything that everyone has been through. A lot of us in our community, we have mental health issues, abandonment issues, anxiety, all types of stuff, post-traumatic stress syndrome, all types of stuff that we never dealt with. All this counseling for kids when people die, that's new. Didn't have that when we was growing up. They didn't have all of that. You see people get murdered, hurt, and all that. You didn't have no counseling for that. You just had to suck it up and figure out a way to justify it in your head, and that's how you moved on. This stuff affects people. When you talk to a people like where we come from, you have to be cognizant of the people you're talking to. You have to understand their background, understand the problems, tribulations, the trials that they got to go through. And then on top of that, you're practicing in Islam in a city where you're a minority. So listen to how it goes. You have a sister, she's not Muslim. Her family structure is all messed up. She has a few family members that she's close with. Then she accepts Islam. By her accepting Islam, her family isolates her because she left off the deen of her family. So she comes to Islam expecting, well, this is my family now, the Muslims. I'm going to get support from the Muslims. And when the Muslims don't give you that support that you need, what happens? They go back. They go back. It happens. Nas'Allah salam wa afiyah. And this goes back to what we mentioned earlier, knowledge. You educate yourself. You surround yourself with people that's going to aid you and support you. Any other questions? That's it? Sisters, questions? All right, we're going to stop with that, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
What's a general? Of course, it's not. What's a general concept you will follow? Because of course, if a random person is surrounding you have no idea of their background.
What's the general concept that who will follow me?
You know, what's a general somebody like you don't want to. Maybe the person is struggling with their Islam, they stop covering because they're not being